On the evening of the 3rd of March 2021, in the London borough of Wandsworth, Sarah Everard and a few friends would enjoy a meal together. It was around 9 p.m. when Sarah said her goodbyes, left the house located on Laithwaite Road, and embarked on a 50-minute walk back to her house on Brixton Hill. Sadly, Sarah would not finish her journey and would not attend her previously prepared plans with her boyfriends the following day. This sparked concerns from her family and friends, as this was unlike Sarah, essentially resulting in being reported missing at 8 p.m. on the 4th, 23 hours after she was last sighted. This report resulted in a widespread search and call for any information or CCTV footage. This appeal proved extremely useful, as it brought to light pivotal evidence in the form of CCTV. Many vehicle dashcams caught Sarah on her walk home. And some, most notably, caught her speaking to a man at approximately 9:30 p.m. Sarah was also sighted being handcuffed, arrested, and placed in the back of a cream-coloured Vauxhall. The police managed to link this car to 48-year-old Wayne Couzens, a serving police officer. It's believed Wayne used his profession to arrest and kidnap Sarah under suspicion of breaking lockdown restrictions, a false law at the time. He then drove her to Kent and proceeded to sexually abuse and strangle Sarah, before leaving her body in a secluded area called Horde Wood. Wayne then carried on like normal for the next few days, including buying a coffee returning his car, and taking the family on an outing to Horde Wood, the very same place he left Sarah only a few days before. All of these actions are inconsequential under the eyes of the law. However, on the 5th of March, he was caught on CCTV filling up a can of petrol and buying plastic bags. These items would later be used to burn and hide Sarah's body. On the 9th of March, 5 days after Sarah went missing, the police would knock on the door, question and arrest Wayne Couzens. This is the footage of Wayne's questioning, caught on an officer's body cam.
About Sarah. I'll show you a picture. Do you know Sarah?
I don't know.
Okay.
Unlike the vast majority of interviews surrounding crimes of this severity, this interview does not take place in the usual setting. Instead of a formal interrogation room, the questioning takes place in Wayne's own house. This could fool Wayne into believing that this is just an inconsequential evidence-gathering interview. However, off-screen, it becomes clear that he has been handcuffed. This aspect will confirm to Wayne that they have evidence against him. However, he is still kept in the dark as to the extent and power of the evidence, in turn heightening his anxiety and increasing the likelihood that Wayne will make a mistake and admit to a detail that the police hadn't already established. It's common to see a suspect confess to a fabricated story in order to combat the potential evidence that they believe the police already have. This story is usually morally acceptable and less incriminating than the actual truth. A blatant example of this occurs in the interrogation of George Hughley. Hughley physically assaulted a woman named Yardley Love, which eventually resulted in her death. During his interrogation, he gives a fabricated story in order to combat the forensic evidence he believed they might have.
Frank, can you find the water jug now? Just so you know, I don't have any arrest warrants for you, okay? However, I am investigating a case, all right, and you are being detained, which means right now you're not free to leave, okay?
Okay.
So I want to talk to you about this to find out, what's going, you know what I'm saying? Does that make
Right.
sense to you?
Yeah.
So before I can even, I want to talk to you, I want to make sure you do understand your rights, okay? And that way I can explain to you what's going on and all that good stuff. Do you
Okay.
understand,
Yes.
that? Okay. Today's date is May the 3rd, 2010. The current time is, I can't tell on that one, 7:52,
My
okay?
drama papers too.
What's that?
So a lot of my drama's papers still right now.
All right, your first name is George,
Yes.
Georg.
O-R-G
And your middle name?
is Wesley.
How you spell that?
Wesley.
And spelling of your last name?
Hugueli.
G-U. I've already told you who I am, Lisa Reeves, and this is Ed Pratcher. He is also a detective at the Stars Police Department.
Good.
And this is just something I have to ask you. Can you read and write?
Yes.
Have any threats or promises been made to you by the police or the Commonwealth Attorney's Office?
No.
Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before questioning and have one present during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be provided for you. And if you're willing to talk to us now, you have the right to stop talking anytime. Got it?
Yep.
Awesome. Just need your signature there that you understand your rights and are willing to talk to us. And the time now is 7:53. And because Detective Pratcher is here, I'm gonna stick his name in here. All right. What I might do, might take a little few notes here and stuff as
That's fine.
I'm talking to you. And first of all, I just want to kind of get a little background on you, if that's okay. You're a UVA student, obviously. How long have you been a student?
It's my fourth year.
4th year? Oh, okay. Long time there, huh? How long have you lived where you live right now?
For 2 years.
For 2 years? Okay. And you play lacrosse?
Yeah.
How long have you been playing that?
Since I was very young. Like at school for 4 years.
Okay. All right. Do you work anywhere?
No.
You don't work anywhere at all? Okay. Where do you get your support from? Family? Let's kind of start. I'm going to kind of ask you some questions, and like I said, we'll explain things a little bit later. Tell me about your day yesterday.
Played golf with our parents. It was a father-son. Good event. I mean,
Where was that at?
at Wintergreen.
Wintergreen.
Mhm.
Okay.
I went to dinner with my dad and my two buddies.
Where was that? Where did you
I went to C&L.
Okay.
And then went home, went to the bar for like a little while. And
What time did you go out to eat?
The golf event ended at 5-ish, so we were probably back at, that was probably 7:30 with dinner.
Okay.
And then went home, I drank a few beers, went, like, I went to the bar for a little while. I went to
Which bar?
Boylan Heights.
Well, okay.
Then I went over to talk to Yardley, and
Who's Yardley?
Yardley is my former girlfriend,
Okay.
which this whole thing's about, which I understand. But when I went over to talk to Yardley, I was like, Yardley, and she was like already totally freaked out because of what she did this past a few days ago, and we haven't talked since, and I was just gonna go talk to her. And she was already freaking out, you can't come in, you can't come in. And I was like, I'm just trying to talk to you. And she started being getting all really defensive against it, because the week before she came into my apartment and attacked and started striking me, and I was like, all right, you gotta leave. And had my roommate's girlfriend finally be like, all right, you like take her out of there because of this. So when I went in to talk to her, because we literally, they've been away, we've been away. When I talked to her, she was already like on the defensive edge, and like I was like, listen, I'm not here to like, I'm just here to talk to you. And she like got all like sat up, like her bed's against the wall, like if it was in this corner, she was like up against the wall, and I was like we were sitting there talking, and like she started being like you know, like getting like all like aggressive after this. And so I was like, all right, like chill out, like, and shook her a little bit, and she started being like freaking out.
George is attempting to give a non-incriminating story that should cooperate with the forensic evidence the detectives have, much like what Wayne tries to do. A major detail is that George doesn't know how serious his situation truly is. He's unaware that Yardley is dead and only believes that she is injured.
I was like, listen, I'm not like here to do anything. I'm here to talk to you about everything that's ensued in the past week. And she was like, and like sort of like being like, no, like hitting her head, like stop, like she was in the corner, I was sitting on the bed, I was like, stop, like, I was like, we were like, what the hell, like, we were just gonna talk, and like, it was not at all like a good conversation, because that's like, she was already like freaking out with just even seeing me there.
Okay. What happened next?
What happened next, and she just kept hitting her head against the wall while she was sitting on the bed, and I was like, I grabbed her and I like shook her, I was like, stop, like we need to like, and looked at her, I was like, we need to like talk about this, and like, I mean, I was holding her arms and stuff, but like, I never struck her, I never like hit her like in the face or anything. I was just like, we need to talk, and she was so like, oh, I mean, what's the word? Like, you know, like flopping a fish out of the water, like so like all this, all because of what happened last week. And I was like, listen, like I'm not here to like fight with you or like do anything, like I'm here to talk to you. And like, and she was like, no, like get away from me, all this like, and like that's what happened. Like I left, like she was in her bed, I think her nose was bleeding a little bit. But she was in her, like when I left, she was like still in her bed, like, and then she may have, at one point she got on the floor, and we were talking, we were like, and she was still like fighting. Actually no, she went over to her desk, where the desk is, and she was like, you have to leave, 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 like all this stuff. And I was like, all right, like fine, like, but like I want to talk to you after all this, and like I was like a little bit persistent because of the situation, you know, my former girlfriend who something happened last week, you know, and I was like, all right, like, well, so we were like talking over there, and I mean, somehow I was resting her on the floor, and I was just like, stop, I just like. And I was holding her, but I never struck her or anything. And I think that might have been when her nose started to bleed. Actually, it was when I was holding her on the floor, being like, listen, like, you came and attacked me. Like, I wanted to talk to her about, you know, everything, because I got all these, like, whatever, like, text messages, like, from her and all this stuff. And so that's when I was, like, holding her, but not forcefully, and then you know, then I guess that's when her nose might have started to bleed. Was when it rolled like that, like her face on the ground, and her nose started bleeding, and then the conversation, I could tell, was just like it was not going anywhere, and nothing was happening. You know. And I went back home.
That video was important as it shows on a larger scale what Wayne attempts to do later on in his questioning.
About Sarah. Do you know Sarah?
I don't know.
Okay. Sarah went missing. I'll show you some pictures of her on the day.
Okay.
Sarah went missing on Wednesday. And her parents, obviously, and her family are really worried about her now. The inquiry that's been conducted so far has led us to come and speak to you about it and to see what you know about Sarah, okay? So, would you like to, do you know where Sarah is?
No.
Right, okay. Do you know anything about what happened to her?
I know that she went missing up in London somewhere. What, about a week ago or so? Just from what I got on the news.
Okay. Have you ever personally met her?
No, not personally, no.
Have you had any interactions with her at all?
No, why would I have personal interactions with her?
Well, it's very difficult because I can't go into a lot of the evidence because obviously that would require, that's not part of what an urgent interview is, okay? This interview is just about trying to find her.
Sure.
She's been missing for a while
Well,
now.
I'm sat in handcuffs and well, I know her, so you must have something to say that I know her.
Well, as I said, you've been arrested on suspicion of kidnap, and we believe that you've been involved in her disappearance and taking her away from her family.
Okay.
In this moment, Wayne acts and responds consistently with someone who's innocent of what they're accused of. He faces up the situation and points out the way he's being treated. A guilty suspect will usually attempt to avoid confrontation as much as possible, and hence just ignore the obvious. Wayne likely knows this detail due to his time in the force, and therefore is portraying the correct behaviour.
So we are trying to find her. Obviously everybody is very worried about her. She's got, parents, she's got she's got siblings, she's got a boyfriend. There's a lot of people that care about her.
Sure.
You've seen her on the news, the number of people that are reaching out about her.
Sure.
Out there looking for her every day, and she's missing. And our primary job here is to find her and to try and find her safe and well.
Okay.
Now, we believe that you know something about where she is, and that's why we're here, to look for her and to try and find her. And that's why we're talking to you now, is to try and get you to have a good think about it and tell us anything you can about where we might be able to find her.
Okay. Well, I am in financial, and I've been lent on by, I don't know who they are. They're a group, a gang, whatever. And they told me, right, I need to go and pick up girls and give them to them. So, I said, not happening. And it then came through that they're going to harm my family, take them away, and they'll use them instead. At that point I had no option to try and find somebody. So I don't, there's a couple of names. I was told a place to take her. That's it. That is all I know. And to this group of people.
Tell me about them. I need to find them. Tell me everything you know that I
Okay.
think that you'll help me.
There was a white Sprinter van. They was between sort of Lenham, Maidstone area that I dropped her off. I still don't know. I don't know. They just I just parked my car up, and then the van come up behind me, flashed me, and they all jumped out, and then they took this girl. They said you've done good, and I don't know whether my family's going to be alright still. But they threatened to take my family away from me. So at that point, I'm doing what I can to protect my family. That's it. So all I know is that it was a roundabout. We could drive there now. I could show you. But roughly, I don't know Lenham, Maidstone area at all.
If we did it on Google, if we did it on Google Maps, like Google Earth, if we drove it, would you
Right.
be able to do it?
I drove from Ashford to Maidstone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There's a roundabout that breaks up, I guess. So this is the first big roundabout that you come to. And you carry straight over to Maidstone, but instead I went round that roundabout and back up another road. And at that point, I was flashed and pulled over. You guys got out, opened my door, opened that door, pushed me out against the front of the car, took the girl, drove off. That's it.
This is the fabricated story that I previously mentioned. Wayne will have more knowledge on the justice system and this process than the average person. Therefore, he understands that portraying himself as a victim of a criminal gang could lead to a lesser sentence. His knowledge also allows him to come up with this scenario and answer surface-level questions on the topic. However, his lie begins to unravel once the detectives begin to ask for specific details. Nevertheless, it's important that the detectives let the lie continue, as it will be enough to charge Wayne and allows one foot inside the door, hence creating building blocks to which they can later build off to find the full truth. The main aim of the detectives in this interview is to locate Sarah, and allowing the story to play out could result in him inadvertently admitting to where she is or where the fake gang left her.
They said we'll be in touch. So I'm here. I'm off work with stress because I'm here to protect my family. I want to be here 24/7 for my family. They come from my family. I've got nothing myself. I've got no choice.
I'll go back through the route with you in a minute, alright? But how do they contact you? How did you contact them?
I tried to take over one of their call girls and rip her off. So she's told them, and they've got me. So
How do they? No, but what I mean is, how do they contact you? How is it they've been in contact with you to make these threats?
they just tell me, be here, be here. So Hotel Burston down in Folkestone, got to be here. Okay, so I turned up. But I've got no mobile number, and they have got my mobile number.
They haven't.
They're obviously outside watching, following. I just, honestly,
How are they telling you to be there? Be there? How is it they're giving those directions?
yeah, they'll come outside. So they'll be outside here,
Yeah.
and then they'll say, right, you're going to be in Folkestone at this time, or you're going to be in Ashford at this time. And that's it. There's no links, no telephone numbers. I'm completely on my own, but at the same time being threatened. It had Romanian plates on the van.
As a result of the CCTV footage and Wayne's pathetic attempts to cover up the murder, he was left with no choice but to plead guilty to the abuse and murder of Sarah Everard. The GPS on Wayne's phone would also reveal where he left Sarah's remains, and she would later be found by police on the 10th of March. Fast forward to the 30th of September 2021, Wayne Couzens would be sentenced to a whole life sentence, which is something of a rarity in the UK, as only 75 prisoners are currently serving whole life sentences. A major reason for this large sentence was the abhorrent betrayal Wayne Couzens showed to the police and those they are supposed to serve. If one positive were to come of this horrendous situation, then this could be that the death of Sarah Everard would go on to send shockwaves through the nation and would push to the front line a much-needed conversation about women's safety. Vigils, discussions and peaceful protests would take place, and disgusting behaviour would be called out by women and men all across the country. On top of this, police conduct would also be questioned, especially as Wayne Couzens was one of their own, and had previous records which should have been investigated with more care. For example, there were accusations of indecent sexual behaviour, which should have resulted in major penalties.